Welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Space Assassin by Andrew Chapman. At the end of the last part, I was on paragraph 205. Let's reread this paragraph as a reminder. Now, the second button depresses safely. Now, when you press the third, the dial pops free of the floor, revealing the contents of the safe. Well, not really a safe, but a booby trap. For there, sunk into the floor, is a gravity bomb which would have been set off had you pressed the wrong sequence of buttons. It is now safe to handle, though, so you may add it to your weapons list. Your weapon list, sorry. I've already done that at the end of the last part. Which exit from the room would you take? The door in front, turn to 80, or the door to the side, turn to 319. Okay, we're going to take the door to the side and turn to 319. Okay, here we go. Now the door slides to the side to expose a large laboratory. You don't have time to take in details, however, as a tiny silver sphere descends from a niche in the roof and hits you with a laser blast. Lose 1 armor point. Let's do that. Okay, so that puts us down to 19 armor points. You will have to fight it. Laser globe, skill 9, stamina 1. If you defeat it, turn to 4. Okay, now this is a gun battle, so for this, like before, we have to roll 2 dice and test our skill. If our skill is less than, or rather, if our dice roll is less than or equal to our skill score, we're successful with the shot and it hits the laser globe. If it's not, then we miss, and then the laser globe gets a turn. I only have to hit this once because it only has 1 stamina. Okay, so let's type in laser globe. Okay, laser globe. Skill 9, stamina 1. Okay, so we want this dice roll to be 10 or less. And we get a 5. Good, that means we were successful. That means we have destroyed the laser globe. He goes down to 0. And we can turn to 4 because we defeated it. That was easy. Okay, after just 1 hit, the globe goes out of control and spins wildly around the room before disintegrating against one of the walls. Looking around, it becomes apparent that this laboratory is used primarily for biological research. There are the usual instruments of vivisection, electronic monitoring devices, and of course, water tanks and cages for respectively amphibious and terrestrial victims. You find a number of items that may be of some use: a very light can of aerosol labelled nerve gas, a packet of 3 tablets unlabelled, and a rather huge dead but fresh crab. Bearing in mind that you do not wish to become overladen, you may take any 2 of these items. If you want to try one of the tablets, turn to 42. Okay, so we're going to take the tablets and the nerve gas. So let's just put nerve gas. Now I won't write the tablets down just yet because we're taking one of them and I won't know how many I have. Anyway, so we're going to take one of the tablets, so turn to 42. Okay, but don't try this at home, kids. Never take unlabelled tablets, especially unlabelled. You know, never take tablets that weren't prescribed for you anyway. Yeah, so this is not really a good example to set in a children's book, but, you know, whatever. This was released in the 80s, or published in the 80s. Anyway, standards were different then. The tablets produce a momentary lightheadedness followed by a sensation of returning energy. Restore 5 points to your stamina. Let's do that. Puts us back to 22 stamina, that's good. Whoops. There we go. You now have 2 tablets left, which you may take at any time to restore per tablet 5 points to your stamina. They are actually pet pills, so we now have 6 pet pills. We're on 42. Let me just read about the pet pills. Recovering stamina. Yeah, 5 points of stamina, so that's what pet pills do. So effectively we have another 2 pet pills, which is quite nice. I don't know why I didn't just say that. Anyway, Leaving the lab via the door the door by which you entered, you proceed through the other security door at the inspection point. Turn to 80. The door opens onto a long, light corridor. Following it, you eventually see another security door on your left. Will you open this, turn to 137, or continue down the corridor? Turn to 398. Now, 398 is the product of two primes, 2 and 199, so that's interesting, isn't it? We're going to continue down the corridor. Oh no, wait a minute. We're going to... Oh no, my apologies. We're going to open the security door, turn to 137. Sorry, I misread my notes there. Okay, yeah, now we go to 398, that's right. Okay, the door opens to reveal a comfortable-looking room whose walls are completely lined with ancient-bound books, microfilms, electronic resource sheets, and journals. On a table in the centre of the room you find 3 microfilm volumes that have been left out, presumably for someone to read. One is on the nervous system of mollusks. An example of a mollusk is a snail or a slug, I think. The second is about neurotoxins, and the third is an article on robotics. They are all possibly relevant, but you only have time to peruse one of them. Which will it be? Write down on your adventure sheet which volume you choose to read. Having completed this, you return to the corridor and proceed along it. Turn to 398. Okay, let's write that down. Or rather, let's not write that down, because we've already written it down. That's because this isn't the first attempt at this video. The recording didn't work properly. Hence, I already knew about the 398 that we're going to. Okay, yeah, so we've already written down that we have read the book on mollusks. So, yeah. Yeah, so a mollusk is like a snail, something like that. What's another example of one? No, can't think of one. Yeah, a snail, I think, or a slug. They're mollusks. Anyway, we're turning to 398, which is the product of 2 primes, 2 and 199 respectively. So 398, here we come. There we go. Okay. The corridor continues for a very long while and still stretches into the distance when you come across another security door on the side. This one is stenciled "Cephalo Squirrels Handle with Care." That was Joy McClure's new series about an ex-cop and an ex-con living together. Handle with care. The Simpsons used to be so funny. Anyway, will you enter this room, turn to 230, or continue down the corridor, turn to 118? We're continuing down the corridor and turning to another product of 2 primes, 118, which is 2 and 59. So 118, here we come. The corridor, after another 100 yards, comes to a dead end. On the wall responsible for sealing the passageway off are 2 large square buttons side by side. Will you press the left one, turn to 23, the right one, turn to 61, which is another prime. In fact, 23 and 61 are primes, and 59 and 61 are twin primes, because they are prime numbers. There are 2 prime numbers that are only separated by 1 non-prime. And we all know that every even number apart from 2 is a composite or non-prime. Anyway, okay, so we're going to press them both together and turn to 156. Okay, that's a wasted paragraph. They obviously had a few spare paragraphs, so they sort of wasted one here. Turn to 166. That's one way of doing it, I suppose. Anyway, without warning, the floor slides away and sends you plummeting down a narrow chute. The floor, now above, moves back into place, plunging you into darkness. The slide continues for a few minutes until the darkness gives way and you find yourself apparently ejected over an alien planet. Strange, though, it looks very close and rather donut-shaped. Not a planetary formation you had been aware could exist. You plummet down towards it, absorbing breathtaking views of wide alien vistas, panoramas, and rolling purple hills. Just before you hit the ground at something like 260 kilometers per hour, which is 162.5 miles per hour, You mysteriously decelerate to land lightly. You no longer seem to be in the starship but on another planet. From now on, compass points will be used for directional reference. Turn to 78. Yeah, a kilometre is 5/8 of a mile, roughly. And so therefore a mile is roughly 8/5 of a kilometre. So 8/5 of x is equal to 260. So if I just divide both sides by 8/5, which is the same as multiplying by 5/8, I will get how many miles per hour 260 kilometers per hour is. So x, how many miles per hour it is equal to 260 divided by 8/5, which is the same as 260 times 5/8, which is 162.5, as I said. I think I said anyway. So 260 kilometers per hour is equal to 162.5 miles per hour. And it also works backwards. Let's say I know I have 162.5 miles per hour and I don't know how many kilometers per hour that is. Well, I know that 1 kilometer per hour is 5/8 of a mile per hour. So I know if I say number of kilometers per hour is y, I know that 5/8 of y, 5/8 of whatever the speed is in kilometers per hour, is equal to 162.5 miles per hour. So I just need to multiply, or rather, I need to divide 162.5 by 5/8, which is the same as multiplying it by 8/5, and 162.5 times 8/5, or which is the same as multiplying by 1.6 because 8/5 is 1.6, is equal to 260 again. So 260 kilometers per hour is 162.5 miles per hour. And that's that little tangent done. Okay, so where was I? Anyway, so just before you hit the ground at something like 162.5 miles per hour, you mysteriously decelerate to land lightly. You no longer seem to be in the starship, but on another planet. From now on, compass points will be used for directional reference. Turn to 78. Okay, off we go. Okay, you are on a grass-covered plain which rolls on into the north. To the west and south you can see a blue-green forest, while to the east some low, rocky hills rise out of the grass. Would you go north, turn to 26, west, turn to 121, or east, turn to 158, or south, turn to 359? Okay, we are going to go west, so we're going to go to 121, which is 11 squared. Right. Interesting number, 121. It's both a square number and it's a palindrome, which means it reads left to right as it does from right to left. Anyway, you are in a densely packed forest of very tall, thorn-covered trees. The forest stretches as far as you can see in all directions. Would you go north, turn to 159, west, turn to 83, south, turn to 323, or east, turn to 78? We're going to go south, so we're going to go to 323, which is another palindrome, but not a square number. Although 324 is a square number, that's 18 squared. But 323 is not. Right. Or a perfect square, anyway. You are in a wide open field surrounded by forest. Would you go north, turn to 121, east, turn to 359, west, turn to 27, or south, turn to 115? We're going to go south again and turn to 115. You are in an extensive forest of very tall bluish trees, all covered by extremely long thorns. Will you go north, turn to 323, west, turn to 104, south, turn to 142, or east, turn to 179? We're going to go west and turn to 104. Oops, wrong way. You are on a grass-covered plain which continues into the west. To the north and east are forests, and in the south some low hills rise. Will you go north, turn to 27, west, turn to 371, south, turn to 289, or east, turn to 115? We are going to go south again and turn to 289, which is another square number. That's 17 squared. Okay, 289. You climb into the midst of some low rolling hills, surrounded by a flat sea of grass. Will you explore these hills for a while, turn to 325, or leave them, turn to 361, which is another square number? That's 19 squared. Wow, lots of square numbers there. We are going to explore the hills for a while and turn to 325. In a shallow dell, you come across a small village of hemispherical adobe huts formed in a ring. In the centre of this ring you can see a totem pole. There is no movement or sign of life other than a few improbable-looking chickens scratching in the dust. If you haven't been here before, you may go down and have a closer look, turn to 246. Otherwise you decide to leave these hills and turn to 361. Okay, we are going to take a closer look and turn to 246. When you are within 50 yards of the nearest hut, a loud hubbub starts up as about 20 aliens looking like fierce little Easter eggs with bushes of hair come streaming out of the village towards you. As the aliens near, a higher-pitched chanting and wailing starts up from an unseen source in the village. Will you stand fast, turn to 336, open fire on them, turn to 282, or flee, turn to 361? Now, interestingly, they look like the Manjis from the Jumanji cartoon. Really good cartoon, if you haven't seen it. 40 episodes of excellent, and as a great ending, because, well, I won't spoil it for you, but really good ending. I really enjoyed the Jumanji cartoon. They're all available on. There are some websites you can you can watch them, where you can stream them. I think might not work now, but if you just do a Google search or a DuckDuckGo search or something, you'll be able to find it. Just search for Jumanji cartoon watch online or some nonsense, and you can watch all 40 episodes. They used to be on YouTube, but YouTube took them down, so it should be somewhere. Anyway, we are going to stand fast and turn to 336. And the aliens halt their rush 2 yards or so from you, form into a wide column and begin a complicated shuffling dance while another group of aliens, apparently singing, shuffles slowly out of the village. After the dance, they lead you into the centre of the village, where a couple of obviously very important creatures officially welcome you in front of the totem pole. The pole is made of wood, but is topped by something obviously not of their manufacture. A small black square indented with a large red button. If you'd like to come into possession of this device, turn to 148, otherwise turn to 350. We would like to come into possession of this device, so we're going to turn to 148. So 148, here we come. If you have the matching piece of this device, you may turn to 296. Alternatively, you can attempt to trade something of your own for the device, turn to 214, or just steal it and threaten the natives with your superior weapons if they kick up a fuss, turn to 251. Now, if we look at our items, we have various things. We have a device, and that actually was the matching thing. So we do have the matching piece of the device, and we are going to turn to 296. Opening your pack, you clasp the matching part and raise it above your head, shouting, "See, its brother returns!" The amazed aliens collapse to the ground and begin wailing. Raising one of the chiefs up, you convince him via sign language that he should give the part on the totem pole to you. When he understands, he signals to a younger alien who climbs the pole and returns with the part, which the chief then presents to you. Turn to 187. The two pieces plug together to form a black oblong with two red buttons. Once the two pieces are together, they begin to hum and one edge lights up with the legend, "Pan-dimensional homing device, emergencies only. Counted as one item for your pack purposes." Okay. Okay, so we now have, I'll just call this Pan-dimensional homing device. There we go. Anyway, turn to 368. The creatures form a crush around you and lead off to the south, singing and dancing all the while. After a number of miles, you leave the hills and cross a grass-covered plain, arriving eventually at a pier in a river. The aliens make it obvious that they want you to have one of the sturdy-looking canoes tethered there. Will you take one of the canoes and paddle downstream, turn to 96, or will you decline their offer and leave the tribe by foot, turn to 168? We are going to decline their offer and leave the tribe by foot, turn to 168. Which way will you go? North, turn to 289, west, turn to 102, south, turn to 83, or east, turn to 159. We are going to go north and turn to 289. Been here before. You climb into the midst of some low rolling hills surrounded by a flat sea of grass. Will you explore these hills for a while, turn to 325, or leave them, turn to 361? We're going to leave them and turn to 361. Would you go north, turn to 104, west, turn to 253, south, turn to 341, or east, turn to 142? We are going to go west and turn to 253. You are on a grass-covered plain which extends into the north and south. To the west is a forest, while to the east some low hills rise. Will you go north, turn to 288, west, turn to 343, south, turn to 102, or east, turn to 289? We are going to go north, so turn to 288. You are on the edge of a vast impassable chasm which runs to the west and north, through the midst of the plains on which you stand, which continue to the south and east. In the bottom of the chasm you can see a wide lake teeming with life. There are also dark submerged shapes which might be large water animals or perhaps machines. There is no way to get down to find out. Would you follow the chasm north, turn to 160, or west, turn to 227, sorry, I need my glasses on, or leave the precipice and go south, turn to 253, or east, turn to 104. We are going to we're going to follow the chasm west, so turn to 227. Here we are. You are on the south side of a vast impassable chasm which runs from the west to east. The bottom is a flat plain. You are on a narrow strip of grassy plain which continues to the west and east. To the south is a forest, and to the north you can see the other side of the chasm. Will you go west, turn to 179, south, turn to 343, or follow the chasm east, turn to 288? We're going to go west, so turn to 179. You are on a grass-covered plain with a large chasm running into it from the east, like a huge axe cut extending as far as the eye can see. To the north and west are forests. To the south, the plain you are on seems to turn into broken, scrubby country. Will you search for some way down into the chasm, turn to 198, or go in some other direction, turn to 153? We're going to search for a way down the chasm, so turn to 198, which is nearby. There we go. You find some very rough-cut and dangerous-looking stairs hacked into the side of a cliff, which wind down into the chasm. Would you go down these stairs, turn to 270, or in some other direction, turn to 153? We're going to go down the stairs and turn to 270. As you climb down the stairs, rocks slide from under your feet and whole steps disintegrate as you test your weight on them. It is a continual battle to stay upright. Roll 3 dice. If the result exceeds your stamina, you slip and tumble down the stairs. If you do slip, roll 1 die and deduct the result from your stamina. Eventually, however, you make it to the bottom of the chasm and head east along the floor. Okay, so we need to roll 3 dice. So I'm going to roll one die 3 times, effectively. So 1, 4, that's 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. So that was 6. That does not exceed our stamina, which was 22. In fact, it was impossible for it to do so, because 3 dice can only add up to 18 maximum, so pretty pointless our doing so, but regardless, we were successful. Eventually, however, you make it to the bottom of the chasm and head east along the floor, flanked by enormous granite cliffs. After a few miles, you arrive at the shore of a wide, still lake which has formed across a turn in the chasm. There is no way to walk past it and no point in going back, so having zero risk of drowning in your spacesuit, you decide to swim across it. Turn to 324. Oh, we're actually going to 18 squared this time. We've been to 323, 325, now we're going to 324. You are living in the middle... You are in the middle of a vast, still lake flanked by towering cliffs. Looking down into the water, you notice a metallic glint from a large submerged shape. You dive down to investigate and are confronted by a small submarine, obviously in working order but currently unoccupied. A tug on your heel distracts you from your find, especially when you turn to see that a house-sized octopoid bivalve has a firm grip on your leg with one of its tentacles. It drags you towards its shell. If you have read the book on mollusk nervous systems, turn to 47, otherwise turn to 85. We have read that book. So apparently an octopus or whatever is a mollusk as well. 47, which is also a prime. Let's find out. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, turn to 85. Oh no, sorry, I read 47. The knowledge you have gained from reading the book will allow you to inflict an extra point of damage on the bivalve every time you hit it. Turn to 85. Looks like we're fighting the bivalve. Okay, you engage it in hand-to-hand combat. Bivalve, skill 9, stamina 8. If you defeat it, turn to 182. Okay, so we're doing the old... the old attack thing. So skill 9, stamina 8, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, let me just see that, see if it really is like this. 85 are on. No, wrong way. Yeah, it's the same as the other one. Okay, 85, let's go back there in case I forget. There we go. Okay, so we're fighting this bivalve, so its skill is 9. We do for the bivalve first. My skill is 10, so 9 plus 4 is 13, so 13 to 19, so I win the first attack round. Goes down to 6. Okay, next attack round. Okay, 12 to 18, so I win again. Puts him down to 4. I don't know why I can't shoot it. Probably said in the previous paragraph, but I can't remember what it said. 17 to 17, so no one does any damage. That was close, wasn't it? Okay, next, 13 to 20, so I win. Puts him down to 2. And then finally, I hope, famous last words, 19 to 18. Yeah, it was famous last words, so it hurts me. 19 to 18. That puts me down rather to 20. 20 stamina. Is it stamina I take off? Let me just have a quick look, because that might be different. Yeah, it is. It's the same. Armor doesn't count. Okay, so I have to go again. Well, hopefully one more time. Yeah. Okay, 11 to 17, and I win. Good. Whoops. Puts him down to 0, and that's the end of Mr. Bivalve. Okay, get rid of the buzzing, and we're done. Okay, so if you defeat it, turn to 182, which we did. So 182, here we come. You dive down to the submarine and climb through the airlock. Safe. There is only one control for the submarine, an on-off switch set into the arm of a chair in the conning tower. Don't know what that is. It must be something nautical. You turn this to on. The submarine moves, gliding into a tunnel in the lake bed. The journey takes a while and allows you some much-needed rest. Restore 4 points to your stamina. Puts me back up to maximum then, doesn't it? Yeah. Eventually you surface into a large room, half of which is a pool of water for the submarine, while the other half looks strangely like the interior of the Van der Vecken. Climbing from the conning tower into the dry half of the room, you see that there is only one exit. You go through it. Turn to 309. Behind the door is a path, floating in mid-air at a precipitous height over a wide and distant countryside. It must be miles below you, yet it is still within the Van der Vecken. The path, looking tenuous and unreassuring, flies arrows straight into the distance. You head across it, eventually arriving at a T-junction. The path splits and flies off in two new directions, neither offering a visible end to the possibility of a fatal drop. Would you follow the path left, turn to 345, or right, turn to 50? Okay, we will decide what to do in the next part. So thanks for watching. I will just write down I'm on paragraph 309, and then we will decide whether to go left or right. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and goodbye.